What up, though, people? Welcome back. It's Wake Up Woodward. We're celebrating a beautiful 313 day. The chat has been amazing. The callers have been awesome. Flannel Sam back on the desk with us as always doing. We got our starting five here. It's been awesome. Mr. Matt Broder, our Detroit Lions, Detroit Tigers credential beat reporter. In our elite booth, our illustrious booth, we got Mr. KG over here, Detroit's #1 draft pick, and Woodward Sports' MVP over here, JB Smooth. In the chat has been a little upset that you ditched your amazing blue hat, brother.
It wasn't amazing blue hat.
It was.
On. It wasn't amazing blue hat. Besides, I like this one a little bit better. Homemade. I like that.
Oh, nice.
Homemade. You know, and before we get into, I know we got what's trending with JB Smooth on the way. We got mailbag. We got more callers. We can continue to talk this Detroit Lions thing. We do cover all four sports. I am the credential beat writer for the Detroit Pistons for the network. And we got our Woodward Pistons Wednesdays. We did push this back so we could continue to accommodate a lot of the callers in this Lions talk because
it's hot right now.
It's hot right now, man. It's hot right now. But we'll talk Pistons just a little bit, man. And it's nothing to defend right now. It's not much to even talk about for this year.
Yeah.
But in terms of where this team is headed and what you guys want to see them do so that they can find themselves in a position similar to what we see with these Detroit Lions. And they made a rapid ascension. It feels like it was just yesterday when we saw Brad Holmes and Troy Weaver out at Detroit Lions training camp, and since then we've seen Brad Holmes ascend and we've seen Troy Weaver getting into it with fans. Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
But KG, I know you had some things as well about the Detroit Pistons, man. What's good, brother?
I don't know what the direction is going forward, like in terms of offseason, because obviously the season's almost over. We have to start focusing more on what the next season is going to look like. What is the strategy? Do you think they have a strategy for the draft or free agency coming up?
Yeah, and you know what? I know a lot of people are not going to like this, but the strategy for free agency is to be able to see what they can kind of pluck from other teams who are looking to kind of implode their current situations. You got the Bulls, who've just announced again that Zach LaVine is somebody they're going to try and trade again in offseason. You got the Tobias Harris rumors that's been out there. You got the teams like the Minnesota Timberwolves as well as the Pelicans who are talking about selling off some of their players as well. But this thing is always going to boil down to what they do to put around your star player in Cade Cunningham. That guy's a star, and he's been on an absolute tear, averaging about 23 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds per game. We all want to see if he can kind of get to that 22, 23, 5-5 plateau. And next year, I'm looking forward to him really pushing this thing up a notch. And what we've seen, though, out of what sticks, because that's what really matters. What sticks and what doesn't are guys like Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren. We've even seen Asar Thompson starting to round into form, and Simone Fontecchio. Definitely want to see him back. And I got to for the people out there. James Wiseman, he's definitely shown some improvements. I know that they said that Taj Gibson has helped him as well as a lot of the work that he's put in. One of those guys that's first to the gym. Jalen Duren was talking about it as well. He's one of those guys that's first to the gym, and he sets a standard. Yeah. He's definitely improved a little bit. It's nothing where I'm saying, hey, you don't start the guy. But in terms of just giving a person their due props, I definitely got to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, and obviously, and we talked about it before the show. I made some of my feelings known on the Pistons on Monday's BDE show. If you want to go back and check that out, you can. But I'm going to try to be a little bit. Thank you. I am going to try to be a little bit more constructive right now. And one of the things about this season, and Kool-Aid, I'd like your input on it, that hasn't made sense to me is that you're right. There is a lot of young talent that we can get behind and be like, you know what? I like this guy. Cade Cunningham, he's not an all-star, but he's putting up all-star numbers. If the team was winning, he would have been an all-star. You look at Jalen Duren, who's a walking 14 and 12 on great efficiency, although his defense isn't quite what you'd like. He's turned into that walking double-double. I think he's 5th in the NBA in rebounds. You look at rookie Asar Thompson, who is objectively having a more impactful rookie season than Scoot Henderson, his brother Amen, guys like Taylor Hendricks and Jarris Walker, who a lot of us Pistons fans wanted them to draft instead of Asar. I think he's been a net positive other than the fact that he can't shoot a lick, but with everything else he does, he's been valuable. You look at Marcus Sasser, a pick with a 25th overall pick who's shooting 40% from 3. All of that, and the Pistons are still an 11-win team. I, for one, and a lot of people might not like this, I'm a little worried about Ivy. You look at the month that he's had, some of the numbers that he's put up, some of the moments where it's like maybe Cade and Ivy can't play together. I mean, you look at – I'll give you a quick for instance. Remember that stretch, and I know we don't want to look back on it because these were painful, the Orlando game and the New York Knicks game. The games that you could argue that the refs stole at least one win, maybe two from the Pistons when they played some really good teams close. You also might look at that if Jaden Ivey didn't play terrible, maybe they win those games. And those combined 2 games, he shot 6 of 24 and 3 of 10 from 3, while averaging 11 points a game. Jaden Ivey's got to be better. And lately, when Cade's played some of his best ball, Jaden Ivey's played some of his worst. And I know that he was misused at the beginning of the year, and there's all kinds of issues with Monty Williams. But to me, with all of the young talent that they've assembled, it just doesn't make sense that they're this bad, that their record is this poor as of right now.
You know what? I'm glad you actually said that. And I definitely want to shout out the chat family and Pistons fans in general. They're saying the same thing. I want to turn away, but I can't stop watching these Pistons. I got to talk to a lot of different season ticket holders, and I have to ask them this question. I got an article coming and some video as well. They're like, look, we're in the trenches. And one family that's watched the Detroit Pistons, they've been season ticket holders since the mid-'80s. They've seen 3 championships. Yeah. They've seen 2 different eras of winning Pistons basketball built. And they do say that when they look at these young players, that they actually have a lot of optimism about where this thing is going. In their perspective, that to me should matter a lot. I know a lot of us who are kind of zoomed up and up close on this thing, it's just like, what is going on right now? But you know what? 2 things, getting to talk to Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart at the Detroit Pistons practices and the press conferences after the game. There was something that they said that I kind of let slip my mind. I'm going to actually kind of do an article on this. Both of them have talked about the fact that they like the guys that they got on this team right now. Stewart actually talked about the fact that the people that are here right now actually try hard. And when you think about the fact that they had 8 players traded out or waived and 8 players brought in at the trade deadline, and that was even, I think, before they did the Marvin Bagley and the Isaiah Livers deal. Now, all of a sudden, Jalen Duren as well, he's saying, hey, look, man, early on we had guys that were always injured. We had guys that might not have played defense the same way that we do today. But this current squad, and we've had a hard time building up our chemistry, but we got the opportunity to right now to build up some chemistry and to be able to play, and we like the way that we're playing. I did a comparison analysis. Before the trade deadline, the Pistons were 3-36. That's crazy. Since then, they are now 8-17. With a couple of those wins or a couple of those losses that could have absolutely been wins. And we talked about, can the Detroit Pistons have a similar stretch to what they did in Cade's rookie year post All-Star break? And you're starting to see this team play a little bit better. We talked about the defensive efficiency going from last in the NBA before the trade deadline to now middle of the pack. And the most important number to me, and that's why I keep calling you guys sickos. I was out there for the Detroit Pistons open practice and lines back to Woodward. Every door had lines going back to the street. And every single game, yes, there's going to be some games where it's a little light in the seats. But the Detroit Pistons are top 20. And during this last 3 years, top 20 in the league in home attendance.
That's crazy.
Over teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, the Houston Rockets, the Phoenix Suns. Detroit sports fans, you know what? On a 3-1-3 day, I will celebrate you all because you guys continue to stay in the trenches. And I get it. When the teams aren't the best, those numbers in the arena are going to dip. But how in the world are you guys keeping this thing to top 19? And I think it's what people say. They can't look away. I think it's this one part where you got these young players that you like, you know what? We're almost right there. And you saw the Houston Rockets in one offseason went from just about as trash as the Detroit Pistons to a team that a lot of their fan bases said, you know what? We like this jump by just adding one kind of splash free agent and Dillon Brooks. Fred VanVleet, Dillon Brooks, and they took that leap. You look at the Orlando Magic, they have a couple veterans on their squad, like a Gary Harris and like a Wendell Carter Jr., and it helps to really stabilize and bolster what Paolo and Franz Wagner are doing for that team. They are on the cusp of being able to make the same types of moves to bring this team forward a lot. The Cleveland Cavaliers, before they went on their run, they went from trash to an amazing turnaround in one offseason. We saw the Houston Rockets do it. And Phoenix Suns, when Monty Williams got there, they also made a significant jump from about 19 wins all the way up into the 30s.
Yeah, they did.
So it's like this team has the recipe, but Troy Weaver's going to have to be in his bag. The one thing I can tell you is this. I started off as a trust and Troy guy. When those drafts and those draft picks were coming in, we saw him going and picking 2 and 3 guys in the first round. It was just like, yo, we've never seen this much, like this accumulation of young talent ever. All we had to look forward to in the years past was, okay, we got Greg Monroe. Anything else? Nope. Okay. All right, hey, we got Brandon Knight. Anything else? Nope. Hey, we got Andre Drummond. Oh, we got Stanley Johnson. just singular picks and singular drafts, and it wasn't moving us anywhere. Now we do have a decent young core, according to the stats that you put up there, and I think people with the eye test can tell that they got a decent young core, but they have to do the right things around this team, and we all know that. It goes beyond just shooting. They need toughness. Before they put any more shooters on this team, I want to see an identity out of this squad that exudes absolute toughness and that grit and that physicality that we've always associated with Detroit Pistons basketball.
Yeah, and here's the thing. If I'm going to, like I said before, I want to choose to be a little bit more constructive today. They're currently on a 6-game homestand. They won 2 out of their first 3. Go beat Toronto tonight and go split with Miami. Then you have a 4-2 homestand. You can see some more evidence of this talent actually equating to wins. Hopefully we could see a game like what we saw with in the Brooklyn game where Cade and Ivy actually play together beautifully, which we haven't seen a whole lot of. And then you got home games against teams like Memphis and Chicago. Go win those. Go win those games. Go win a couple of road games that maybe you're not supposed to, and finish this season with at least 18 wins, please. It's really, really hard to sell, and I think everybody in this room will agree with me. And this is context free, but think about this: if you would have told me before the year that Cade Cunningham has an all-star level season and basically plays the whole year, he's missed like 10 games. And the Pistons would have the same amount of wins or less than the year before, that to me would have made my head explode on the spot. But it's in danger of happening. But the Pistons have an opportunity to actually put all of this talent on the court and win some games. Because Toronto, that's a game you got to have. Memphis, got to have it, especially with no Ja Morant. Bulls, you've kind of owned them this year. Go win those games and win a few you're not supposed to. Get to 18. Win at Washington. You have one at Washington. Beat them as well. Win at San Antonio in the season finale. Get to 18, please. It'll be symbolic, at least for me.
And don't set that kind of the low wins, the record for the lowest wins in franchise history is 16. Find a way to get some pride and go out there and beat that amount. I'm with you there. And as it relates to the overall rebuild, man, this is year 4. This is year 4. The only way that you get the collection of young talent they have is if you lose as much as they have. Their window from the beginning of this thing was 4 to 5 years. They're entering year 5 right now. I wanted to see them take that jump this offseason, but with Monty Williams entering, there was a lot that went down that handcuffed Troy Weaver, similar to how we saw Joe Dumars get handcuffed at the end of his tenure. So, any other comments on the Detroit Pistons people?
And for all the people in the chat who think I'm kind of being flip-flopping, 18 wins is not a successful season by any means.
Not at all.
I'm just saying, at some point, given the talent that they do have, that even I acknowledged, don't have a worse record than last year, especially with a whole season of Cade. It'll be disappointing no matter what, save for they win out, which is obviously not going to happen. Just 18 to me would be a symbolic ending to the year where you can kind of say, after that long winning streak, they were just normal bad. You know what I mean? We would have accepted that. We would have accepted a 30-52 season. We would have and been happy. Get that pace at least for a large portion of the season. That's all I ask.
Definitely. And I see my man Jesse Adams in the chat as well. The one thing that I've aptly reported is that this summer, what do I want them to do? That's a lot different than reporting what the team is going to do. Troy Weaver reported 7 days before free agency started that there was going to be no big splashes. They were not going to make a move for any important players. That's what I reported. Did I want them to go out there and do something? I absolutely did, because I thought that the iron was hot to strike, that was a time to go on ahead and do it the same way that the Houston Rockets did, and you see what it did for their young team this year. It moved them forward up a step. This is the offseason where if they don't do something, they're saying that they're going to. If they don't, then they're going to fail this restore, in my opinion. And they're going to fail some of their players, because these windows, like Terry Foster talks about, they start to shift, and you start to have to make decisions on this young talent before they're able to see any hope in what you've put together. So definitely, man, it's going to be interesting to see from here. I know we're going to get Rod on next week. Mr. Rod Beard, he wasn't able to make it this week. He had some meetings out at the Detroit News, but next week we'll get him on, get his thoughts on this thing as well, because right now it's about what this team does moving forward. So definitely, I want to make sure we get to what's trending with JB Smooth, though. I want to make sure we do that. So in the next segment, we'll get to that. And if we got some time, we'll definitely make sure we get to the rest of those callers on the line. I'll throw the number out there just so you guys have it, 313-552-6322. And definitely, guys, continue to smash that like button, share the post, and encourage other people to do so as well. We appreciate you guys' support. But first, I got to tell you guys about where I take my pet lion to get the best You guys know where that's at? You know.